Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Public Service Commission of South Carolina. Today is October 21st, 2021. Let's take roll. Present in the hearing room, we have Commissioners Thomas, Williams, Belzer, and Jay Williams. Present virtually, we have Commissioner Caston, Commissioner Powers, and Commissioner Irvin. Before we get started, please join me in a brief moment of silence. Attorney Butler, would you please read the docket, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, other members of the commission. This is matter number ND 2021-6A. The commission's here today for an update and presentation by Christopher R. Kuhn, Esquire, regarding customer outreach efforts of the South Carolina Emergency Rental Assistance Program and the South Carolina Stay Plus Program.
All right, Attorney Kuhn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I really appreciate the chance to be with you here today. It's good to see you all. Our task today is to give you an update on where we are with the Stay Plus program. So I am here in my capacity as your appointee to the state's Emergency Rental Assistance Program Advisory Board. Now, as you'll probably recall, we were here back in June to give you an update on what things look like. And back in the summer, we were plucky and we were optimistic. But things didn't look very good. We had a long way to go. As you will recall, this is a $270 million program that came from the federal government of South Carolina to help people stay in their homes. It helps renters with their rent and with their utility payments. When we were here back in June, I don't think we had quite given away the first million of over $270 million. So we had a long way to go. And then we were also facing some very difficult deadlines. Under the federal guidelines, at least 65% of this money had to be obligated by the end of September. And under the state requirements, 100% had to be obligated. So it's like that old song, we had a long way to go and a short time to get there. As you'll probably also recall, we had a lot of exchanges about why that was. Why were we not having more folks apply to this program? I think there was general agreement with everyone in the room that there were people out there that were hurting because of the pandemic. There were people out there that really needed the help. And why weren't we getting the money to them? So it was very helpful. We talked a little bit about how we could perhaps improve our outreach efforts. Some of you gave us some examples, some ideas that you'll hear a little bit more about because we put them into action. We also, there was a really helpful exchange at the very end when we were here in June, where you all essentially said, or maybe you sent us a signal, maybe that's the way to say it, that you thought this was important, that this needed to be a priority, and you offered to help us. You essentially said, look, as the Public Service Commission, we're not sure exactly what our authority would be here and what we could do, but if y'all can go figure it out, we're happy to help. And I want you to know that was more helpful than you probably realized, because that made a big difference. You basically gave credibility to our ideas when you said that at a time where we needed it. And so I'm going to talk a little bit later about why that was helpful and what happened as a result of it. But you can probably tell I'm in a better mood today. I feel like we've got a better story to tell than we did in June, and I'm excited to tell you why. So let me just take just a second to outline our presentation for you today. In a moment, I'm going to recognize some folks who are joining us remotely. First, we're going to hear from Vinod Ramachandran. Vinod spoke to you back in June. He is with Guidehouse. He is the Director for State and Local Government Efforts. And Vinod is going to give you sort of a program update. He's going to tell you where we are in terms of the numbers. You're going to see some better numbers. And Vinod's also going to explain why we're not sweating the deadlines quite like we were before. We're not quite as worried. Next, I'm going to recognize Renee Long, who's actually here in the room with us. Renee is Director of Communications and Outreach for the South Carolina Housing Authority. And Renee's going to brief you on housing's outreach efforts since we were together last time. And again, you're going to some of those are going to seem kind of familiar to you. After Renee, I'm going to introduce Nancy Lohr, who is Duke Energy's Managing Director for Customer Experience Strategy, as well as Christina Freeman, who serves as Dominion's Manager for Customer Assistance. And Nancy and Christina, both are going to be joining us remotely. They're going to walk you through some of the utility industry's outreach efforts and also the ways we've coordinated to try to get the word out about this program. I want to tell you, I didn't know any of these people before I started working on this program. And that's kind of strange to say now because we've all become very good friends. We are communicating on a daily basis, usually multiple times. And I think I referenced this when we were together back in June. But it's just so nice when you work with somebody that you know you can count on and you know is not going to drop the ball. And that's what it's been like to work with these folks. So that's been helpful and it's been a blessing for this project. But I'm also excited down the road now that we've got these relationships when we have other challenges. Because, you know, COVID didn't care who served your power to your house. You know, our customers are usually in the same boat. The next hurricane isn't going to care who serves power. So often we have the same problems that we need to solve, and so it's very, very helpful to have these relationships. So that's kind of an ancillary benefit that's come from this whole process. Mr. Chairman, finally, at the end of the presentation, I'm going to be a little bit selfish, and I hope that you will all forgive me because I'm saving the best part for my part of the presentation. When Vinod shows you the numbers in just a moment, you're going to see the numbers are good. They're better, but they're still not quite where we need them to be. But we're not worried. We're not sweating it. And the reason is because we are about to launch a direct pay initiative. We talked a little bit about this last time, but the idea is that the utility companies can apply directly on behalf of their qualified customers. And the payment comes to the utility, it gets credited to the members' bills. That's going to be tremendously helpful. We think that's really going to push the numbers. Better yet, we've come up with a way to help our prepay customers. We talked about that too. Prepay customers didn't quite fit into the Treasury Department's guidelines. So we found a way to help those folks as well. And those two initiatives are in the works while we speak. So I'll tell you more about that at the end of the program. But I'm really excited that we've achieved that. So that's my introduction speech. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I will hand things off to Vinod, who is joining us remotely. Vinod, the floor is yours, but I will drive the PowerPoint from here in the room if you'll just tell me when I need to advance the slide.
Sounds great. And I hope everyone can hear me okay as well.
Yes, sir.
So perfect. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for the kind words, and I appreciate the Commission's opportunity for us to present on the state of the program to you today. I'm on slide 3, which says SE State Plus Program Overview. So we just wanted to start off with a quick overview and a quick refresher of the program. So just to remind everyone, this is a rental assistance program only, so it's only eligible renters and not homeowners. And it's only for the 39 specific counties, the 7 largest counties in the state, including Richland, Greenville, Charleston, Spartanburg, Anderson, and a couple of more just got their own funding and they're administering their own programs. So this program really just accounts for those 39 counties. As a reminder, again, for ERAP 1, we provide up to 12 months of past due rent and 3 months of future rent, and any past due utilities as well. The program can also cover any other housing expenses for applicants who may be displaced by COVID-19. This includes any relocation costs, temporary housing, legal aid as well. For the most part, we try to pay the money and the rental arrears directly to the landlords and the property managers, and the utility arrears to the utility providers. In some cases, though, if we find that the landlord is not being responsive, then we do pay the tenants directly. The process is fairly straightforward. The applicant has to submit the application, but also provide proof with respect to documentation around their rental arrears. And they have to coordinate with their landlord because we need to get some owner verification from the landlord as well. The team will then review the application for eligibility as well as for the presence of the right documents and to determine how much we need to provide to the applicants. And then finally, the application is indeed approved. The state and the guidehouse and the grant administration team, we do some monitoring and compliance and quality checks just to make sure that we're taking care of that risk part of the equation as well before we send it out for final reviews and final payment processing. The payment is accomplished through the state SKIS system. So the program has a way to send the files to SKIS, and then SKIS cuts the checks or does the direct deposits to the landlord, the tenant, or the utility provider's accounts. If we can move to the next slide, Chris. So talking about, we just talked about the program. So where are we right now? As of this morning, we've received over 30,000 applications, accounting to over $116 million worth of funds requested. You can split the funds really into three or four distinct buckets. You can see that there's a number out there on the total number of funds approved. It says 33.9 million. As of this morning, we had approved close to 35 million worth of applications. There's another $32 million worth of applications that we've completed our review process on. But after our review, we've realized that those applicants haven't provided us all the documentation that we need in order to make a determination on that application. So this could mean they haven't provided us how much rental arrears that they have. They may not have provided us with their income verification to qualify them at 80% AMI. They may not have provided landlord documentation either. So we've reached out to the applicants here and asked them to provide the missing documentation so that we can go ahead and approve the application. And then we also have another $30 million worth of applications that we still haven't reviewed yet because the applications have been coming in at quite a fast pace over the last few weeks. And we've just recently doubled the size of our review team so that we can get through that $30 million worth of applications and their review within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Finally, we've also reviewed close to 20 million that is just not eligible because the applicant and the documentation that they provided didn't meet one of our criteria. So we've already let them know that they've been provisionally denied. And we say provisionally denied because they still have 30 days to appeal our decision and maybe provide documentation that clarifies why they are indeed eligible and why our decision wasn't accurate. So I hope that gives a good overview of where we are with respect to the total applications received and where we are with the overall process. I know the first question that everyone's going to have is, we're only at $35 million approved with respect to $272 million worth of funds provided. So why is the number this low? What are the challenges we have? I can cover that in the next slide. So Chris, if you don't mind going to the next slide. Great. So I'm on slide 5, where we talk about existing program challenges. The biggest challenge that we face is the documentation. So when we've noticed that when the application does come in, 95% of the applications don't submit all the documents we need to make an award determination. We've mitigated this in a couple of ways. We've streamlined the documentation requirements to make sure that there's not as much documentation required. We're doing some automatic checks using third-party providers in the background, and we're hoping that increases this number. At this point, as you can see, we're at the point where 75% of the applications don't have sufficient documentation. So we're making some progress on that number. The other challenge we had is in certain cases, the landlord refuses to participate in the program. Previously, under the original program guidance, we had no choice but to wait for the landlord participation. With additional treasury clarification and guidance, we are now able to make payments directly to tenants. So now we do know if landlords don't participate, we can just make the payments directly to the tenants. But this continues to be a challenge at times where we're giving the landlord time to participate in the program, but they either are non-responsive or they wait. They choose not to participate in the program and would prefer to evict the tenant. And then the last challenge we have is with respect to the application rates, and this also kind of plays into the obligation discussion. So as Chris mentioned, the federal guidelines stated that we needed to obligate 65% of our funds by September 30th. So that was 176 million. While the state legislature required that we obligate 100% of the funds by September 30th. So that's the entire 271 to 72 million. you can imagine the challenge we have there. The seven largest counties, which account for the highest amount of renters and the highest volume of renters, if you will, highest value of renters, if you will, aren't part of this program. So we kind of lose them, and we have to work with the rural communities here. So we're just not getting as many applications as we would like. Um, Even for us to reach the 176 million back on September 30th, we wouldn't have been able to do that because we really only received applications worth 100 million at that point. Um, so that said, how do we manage this risk, right? So the obligation requirement is that we spend either 30% of the funds by September 30th, or that we obligate 65% of the funds by September 30th. What our team is doing is we're making sure that we're approaching this in 3 or 4 different ways so that Treasury does not find that we have any excess funds. The first option is, now that we do have $116 million worth of applications in the system, even though we're just working with another 60 million worth of eligible applications, we've doubled the size of our review team so that we can get through those as quickly as possible. We're also working on a plan that we can submit to Treasury, and Treasury has said, if you submit this plan and we approve it, then we will give you a 15% leeway in terms of how much you needed to have spent. So we're hoping that the approved improvement plan will allow us to get to the percentage that Treasury needs by November 15th, so that we don't have any excess funds. The last option that we're also pursuing is making sure that we interact with these seven other counties as well, so that if Treasury does say we have any excess funds, we can voluntarily reallocate it to one of these seven counties, so that the money still stays within the state, and we're not really losing money to any other state as well. So even though it may not be part of the SC State Plus program, the money will still be used to help eligible renters within the state of South Carolina. It may just be within one of those seven counties instead. So can we move to the next slide, please? If there's no questions. Um, I also did want to say we are making some program changes to mitigate some of the risks that we covered in the previous slide. In response to feedback and in response to kind of looking at the data that we've seen, we already talked about streamlining documents. So let me give you a couple of examples of what we're doing here. We've identified 196 zip codes that are within the low income, that are designated as low income zip codes within the state. So if anyone submits any documents from any of those 196 zip codes, they really only need to provide how much their rental arrears are for us to actually make a payment to them and for us to process their application. We've also made sure that people don't really even need to submit an ID document anymore, because we're working with a third-party provider, GAIAC, who can do some ID checks for us in the background. We've allowed applicants to self-certify any COVID impact, and a couple of the other requirements as part of the program. So we're really trying to make it easy for the applicants and making sure that they really only need to submit one or two pieces of documentation for us to be able to approve their application. We're aggressively communicating this, and I know the team will talk about that as well. With respect to staffing, we have increased the size of our team, both in terms of the call center, which you can see on the right, as well as in terms of our review team, so that we can get through the backlog of applications as quickly as possible. Our goal is within the next 3 weeks, we want to get the backlog of applications to a point where we're reviewing applications the week that they come in. Right now, we're about 2 or 3 weeks behind, given the high volume of applications we've received since the eviction moratorium ended. Um, we've increased our call center support, but even more excitingly, we've been able to partner with a couple of organizations, and provide some in-person support in some of these communities that has really helped us increase the volume of applications and get word of the program out there. I know Renee and Chris are going to talk about that a little bit more, but um, if you can go to slide 7, I'll just kind of tell you what the two organizations are, and then I'll turn it over to Renee to walk through some of the other communication outreaches. But um, the two partners we've had is SCARCAT, so that's the South Carolina Association of Community Action Partnerships. They've got 14 locations that applicants are able to go to in person, and get help in submitting their application and filling out all the forms, in providing the right documentation and submitting that application. So this was, we provided training to ScarCap 2 or 3 times, so they're very well versed with the application as well. And they can also help going forward with some of the outreach programs that we want to institute. The other partnership has been with the NAACP. So they volunteered, they reached out to us and said, hey, we can absolutely host some in-person support clinics in some of the underutilized regions within the state. So we've had 14 or 15 of their chapters participate. We've had close to 50 to 60 weekday and weekend working sessions where they've hosted clinics, applicants have walked in and are able to submit their application. This has been quite popular. I actually heard this morning that there was a line of 45 applicants that were waiting at Colleton County, the Colleton County chapter, that they were just not able to get through over the weekend. So we've extended that support to today and to next weekend as well, so that we can continue to get as many applicants into the program as possible. I'll pause there. I don't know, Chris, if you were planning to take questions now or at the end, but I'm happy to answer them now or at the end, based on how we want to proceed. So I'll pause and see if there's any questions or turn it over to Renee.
And Commissioners, we're happy to answer any questions you have as we go through it. We've also got time at the end reserved to have exchanges, so please just let us know. All right, with no questions, then I'm going to hand this over to Renee Long from Housing.
Good morning, and thank you for having us here. One of the things, and you will recognize this gentleman, Chris Winston, who's a member of my team. The last time we were here doing a presentation.
If you would just pull it closer to you, Ms. Long.
Thank you. The last time we were here doing a presentation, Chris talked about a lot of the paid media advertising, the more global advertising that we were doing. One of the things that you shared with us, and I think there were several questions at the end in terms of what about the rural communities, how we reach them, are we tailoring our strategies to reach people who may not have internet access or who may have transportation issues. We really heard that in a lot of our focus this time has really been going into those rural communities. So we've partnered with, for example, this is an outreach from Dominion at a senior center in Aiken, where we went out and had an interactive discussion. And it's really helpful because at that particular outreach location, we saw basically families coming in with young children who are coming in at the very end of it saying, did I miss the presentation? Can you please help me and tell me more information? We've also done community town hall meetings. This was in Sumter County or Wedgefield, and Representative Brawley had a town hall meeting. And so again, we're able to present on the program, answer questions, and actually meet the community where they are. And this was an evening meeting. I think it started at 7 o'clock. We also have been to a community town hall meeting in Orangeburg. That's our Director Shropshire, basically presenting to that particular town hall meeting. And again, I want to say that we've had active involvement from our legislators in terms of community gatherings, hosting information exchanges where their constituents can get information about the program. Again, this would be more in the Florence County area. Our U.S. Representative Tom Rice asked one of our staff members to come out, do an education and training session for his staff in order to be able to help the constituents, and we've had a lot of engagement there. This event was in Columbia in terms of policy support. Congressman Clyburn came out, our director was there to really talk about, we're trying to make the program more flexible and wanted to do a check-in in the communities, in the various states to see whether or not some of the flexible provisions, for example, that Treasury's allowed us to do self-attestation. We talked about being able to pay the tenant if the landlord decides not to participate. So again, those are some of the things that we had some discussions about. This was another rural outreach event in Sumter County. One of the local mental health centers had a housing fair, and it was in partnership with several other organizations. So we had an opportunity for folks to be able to just come out to an event in their local community, ask questions, or in some cases, if they had an application in and wanted to know, where are they in the process, what's next, we were able to answer that question. One of the exciting things that we've done is the rental assistance clinic. I think it's very important that when you're doing community outreach, it's bi-directional exchange. So here you see partners like Appleseed, Nelson Mullins Pro Bono Office, the USC School of Law, and the First Baptist Church of Barnwell saying, we have a church facility, can you make this more accessible? And we did what we call a pop-up rental assistance clinic on a Saturday, got together, advertised it, and had hundreds of people to come out. In fact, Nelson Mullins created appointment times so that we could practice social distancing, and we had to do follow-ups because there was some waiting list of people who couldn't get in on the appointment time. So again, this has been very popular. This is some more pictures from the Barnwell event. And on the same day that we did that Saturday event in Barnwell, we also did an event in Ridgeland. Although we have in-person applicant support centers at the Beaufort Library, within those communities, for example, access and transportation issues make it difficult for maybe someone to get into Beaufort. So we had partners in that area, the Charleston School of Law, Antioch Education Center, and lots of legal volunteers to get together and help people put in applications. So if there were technical difficulties in terms of, I don't have a computer, I don't know how to upload applications, they actually could come to a site in their local community and someone can help them get a complete application in. One of the things that Vinod mentioned earlier was the NAACP sites. What you'll see is that these NAACP chapters, the support centers are at churches, various places in the community. We also have the libraries that are continuing to expand, and we have the community action agencies that provide yet another vehicle. And if you look on your handout, these are in very small counties. So again, we're trying to meet the various residents where they are in their communities. We've gotten a lot of increased media attention. I think someone mentioned earlier, was there an NPR article down at the bottom? This young lady, we were able to help her through the process, and we did, there was coverage journaling what her story was, and she was able to stay in her home. I think she was a cosmetologist that was laid off during the, or had to, I guess her work was interrupted during the pandemic. So again, those are some of the opportunities we have. On the right, you'll see the Beaufort Library. That's an example of in-person support there as well. These are some customer testimonials that you can read later that basically residents from Lexington and different counties, York County is one, sharing just how beneficial the program is. And a lot of the families did not have any additional support. So being able to catch up on their rent and utilities was a tremendous blessing for them. We also have restorative help available to families who have been evicted and are displaced. And you'll see that we are offering assistance with being able to, if they need to stay in a hotel motel, reimbursing those costs, helping them in terms of paying deposit on a new place and some other moving and storage costs. And all of these are reimbursement types of options. I think that's it. Thank you. Are there any questions?
All right, well, we will move to Nancy Lohr and Christina Freeman to give us an update on utility outreach efforts. And again, ladies, if you'll just let me know when to advance the slides, I will do that for you.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Christina Freeman, Manager of Customer Assistance Programs for Dominion Energy. I first want to thank all the commissioners and Chairman Williams for allowing us the opportunity to be here today and to provide an update on all of the outreach efforts and communications efforts that have been going on since our last update. For Dominion Energy, we have continued to take numerous steps to raise awareness of all of the energy assistance available to assist customers throughout our service territory, but specifically focusing on the SC Stay Plus program. And since our last update, we have been very successful with the continuation of a number of those opportunities. Since the launch of the program, we were very proactively engaged with SC Housing in terms of our collaborative partnership, and that led to additional collaboration, as Chris mentioned, with the other utilities, which has been very exciting, and we've shared a number of best practices. With Dominion Energy, one of the things that we've specifically done is created a communications plan to reach customers within our service area through a variety of different channels. Next slide, please, Chris. I'm sorry, if you can back up one. There we go. As you can see here, this gives you an outline of some of the different communications channels that we've implemented to make sure that we're capturing as much of our customer base as possible. With regards to traditional media, we distributed news releases, including a joint news release in English and Spanish in collaboration with SC Housing at the start of the program, and since then continue to work with our media partners to promote community events, not only that Dominion Energy customer assistance team representatives would be attending, but community events such as the ones that Renee Long spoke of regarding the rental assistance clinics related to this program. Additionally, Dominion Energy has also participated in TV and web-based interviews. For example, appearing on the On Point with Cynthia Hardy show, as well as Coping with COVID with Trey Taylor. In terms of social media, I think we've had a very exciting social media campaign where we developed specific South Carolina targeted paid social media ads through Facebook and Twitter to inform our customers of utility assistance available and driving those followers to our assistance programs landing page on our Dominion Energy website. We maintained and engaged with all of our community partners and shared organic social posts related to the SC Stay Plus program, for example, specific to posts from SC Housing and community action agencies and other partners. With regards to marketing and advertising, we launched a summer campaign called We're Here to Help. That program ran from June 1st through September 30th and also included a customer assistance public service announcement in the month of September. It was very successful. We had over 226,000 impressions of our ads that were delivered to our target customers within South Carolina. And from that, over 3,800 direct link clicks to our assistance page. Part of our We're Here to Help program also included a 2-week radio blitz, as well as native article ads and specific displayed targeted ads. Our direct to customer campaigns have included monthly e-newsletters with a variety of seasonal information. And on the footer of all of those e-newsletters that we're sending monthly, we have included our We're Here to Help campaign messaging so that customers continue to see different ways that they can get assistance with their utility bills, as well as other bills such as rental assistance through these programs. We've used a targeted email, as you can see one of the graphics here, related to customers that were specifically in arrears, as well as Dominion Energy customers that were eligible to receive arrears forgiveness. Part of that email to those customers included detailed information on energy assistance programs that are available and specific messaging related to SC Stay Plus, as well as a link on how to connect to the SC Stay Plus program to fill out applications. Our website continues to be very beneficial in terms of receiving a high volume of customer traffic. We promote all, not just the SC Stay Plus program, but all of the emergency rental assistance programs in the other counties where we serve, so that we're making sure as many of our customers have all of the information available to connect to this vital program. In addition to that, I'm very proud of our event calendar, which continues to receive a lot of clicks and visits. And we update that on a regular basis to show where we will be in person in the community so that we can engage directly with customers. Next slide, please, Chris. I think our biggest impact has really been with community outreach. So we definitely heard the suggestions that the commission made when we were here with you in June. And year to date, Dominion Energy has engaged with and completed over 182 community outreach events this year. We've been in 27 South Carolina counties where we serve, and specifically have completed 5 events related to the SC Stay Plus program, where we've been able to reach over 400 plus attendees. You heard from Renee Long, where one of those programs took place in Aiken, where we held a community customer assistance day and had a very good turnout. In addition to that, we've also found opportunities for first-time events where Dominion Energy had opportunities to go out into the rural communities and engage with some events that we had not been a part of before. For example, we participated in the Main Street Latin Festival here in Columbia, as well as the Latin Festival in Charleston, to reach additional customers and share information in English and Spanish related to SC Stay Plus. Additionally, in September, we coordinated the Gullah Geechee Energy Day on St. Helena Island to have representatives from SC Stay Plus, as well as our Community Action Agency partner for the area, share information on assistance that was available. And we have attended and been in person, side by side, at many of these rental assistance clinics, providing bill information and account information to our customers as they are completing and applying for the SC Stay Plus program, so that we can assist in making that process as easy as possible. That includes being in areas such as Ridgeland, Sally, Denmark, Barnwell, Allendale, and Saluda County, where we did a drive-by event through our Neighborhood Energy Assistance Program, and took the opportunity to also share SC Stay Plus flyers at that event as well. In all, we've reached over 15,000 individuals and families through our community outreach efforts this year, and we have plans through the end of this month to participate in at least 4 more community outreach events related to SC Stay Plus. I'm going to turn things over to Nancy Laura Duke, where you'll see she has very good similar outreach efforts. Nancy?
Thank you, Christina. Commissioners, thank you so much for this opportunity. We very much appreciate it. And I have to take a step back and reiterate a couple of things that Chris said. And that is, we, from our last meeting, were really motivated by a lot of the, I would say, empowerment that you guys bestowed upon us, are your challenges, to get out there and really help our customers even more as far as engagement and outreach. And Chris also talked about us becoming friends, and I'd say I reiterate that. I can, and really want to compliment you on your staff. SC Housing has been incredible. I work with a lot of different housing authorities throughout all of our states that we serve, and your housing authority is first class. They have been with us every week on our calls. They're responsive and they care. And so I would be remiss without saying, a big thank you to them personally. Guidehouse has been phenomenal, and Christina and Chris, they are friends. And so, it's been a great partnership, and it's just starting because our customers are still, they're going to need help for many, many months to come. So we hope that you will continue to challenge us and that you will see that we've made great progress from our last meeting with you. So Chris, if you'll go ahead and show the first slide. I would, just tag on to what Christina said. We heard you about engagement. And at Duke Energy, what we did is we leaned on our district managers, which are what I call the boots on the ground in the face of the communities. And we got out and did what we call pop-ups, which is really just community events where we can touch our customers, talk directly with our customers, just lean on our partnerships as well. So we went out and did pop-ups with the communities of Williamsburg, Edgemoor, Newberry, Kingstree. I won't read them all, but the list is there. And we reached approximately 1,600 to 1,700 customers. On top of that, we engaged with our partners. So one partnership that we engaged with was Meals on Wheels. So we all know that customers that receive Meals on Wheels are vulnerable in some way. So we made sure we had SC Stay Plus flyers that we gave out to all of the recipients that were receiving meals. And then on top of that, we just continue to think about how do we continue to engage and get out and touch our customers and talk to them and help those who can't help themselves. And so what we really wanted to do right now too is focus on the holidays, with Thanksgiving coming up, Christmas coming up, Hanukkah coming up. We want to make sure that if we can help in any way our customers have a better holiday season, we want to do everything we can. And that means even reaching out to customers that have food insecurity. How can we as companies do food drives and help make sure that nobody goes hungry over the holidays? So on top of really looking at SC Stay Plus, getting power bills paid and rent paid, how can we help in some of the other things and needs that our customers have out there? And so Chris, next slide, please. And so then really continuing on engagement, we sent out emails to all of our customers, but then really focused on which customers, which areas do we see more need. So we did a lot of targeting for SC Stay Plus and the counties that SC Stay Plus is accountable for, and made sure that we targeted messaging, used our webpage and to make sure that we had that up to date with all of the SC Stay Plus information, and then really made sure that we had it bilingual, that we had it for Hispanic speaking customers as well. So we just wanted to make sure that we made it as easy as possible for our customers to be able to get help, to reach out for help. And on top of that, we did create what we call a centralized agency team. And that's a group of employees who just focuses on agencies that are helping customers. So we can, if we need more time to spend with those agencies, we want to do that as well. So we have a group of a group of employees that will just help us as we continue to evolve with this partnership with you as we continue to help our customers. So I really appreciate the time today. I appreciate your engagement, your involvement, you pushing us and you challenging us. And hopefully you'll see with today's presentation that we continue to meet as a team, we continue to challenge each other, and that I will now close and look forward to any questions that you all may have, but can't thank you enough for this opportunity.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Urban, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the entire presentation team, but particularly the efforts that Dominion has made to reach out to customers in multiple ways. Christina, you and Nancy have really gone above and beyond the call of duty to target those in need. And I'm also very pleased to hear that there may not be a hard deadline for further outreach. That's great news. And I was just wondering, when we first talked about this challenge back in June, there was some talk about the possibility of targeting delinquent customers. I know you've sent emails. I know you have the help link on your website, which you've had thousands of hits on, but there must still be some delinquent accounts out there that would qualify. I'm just wondering if you plan to continue to try and reach those customers. I'll let you respond.
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Urban. Yes, the answer is, believe we are all very much still planning to reach out to our customers. And I believe Chris has some additional information to share on a collaborative effort that we've been working on in terms of directly connecting with customers in arrears.
Yeah, and I will echo that as well. That we will be very much targeting our delinquent customers and doing everything we can, constantly to do anything we can to keep from cutting customers. That's the last thing we want to do. And so we will be doing major, and I think Vino and Chris can give a lot more information on how we're going to do that. But I feel really optimistic about that.
Well, that's fantastic, and thanks for your response. And I don't know if the program would allow for direct transfer to Dominion Energy to credit delinquent customers in a lump sum once the delinquency amounts could be established and totaled. Is that at all possible, or has that been considered?
Commissioner,
It is, and I don't want to steal from Chris's thunder. So I know Chris was going to talk about precisely this effort. So maybe Chris, this is a good time for us to walk through the direct pay and the prepaid initiatives.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Urban, you and I agree completely. And when I said that I was going to save the best for last, selfishly, that's what it is. We think we have come up with a way to do that. I think you're absolutely right. This is the place we can get the most bang for our buck. And I think we've got a process set up to do that. So, yeah, Vinod, I think you're right. If we could bring the PowerPoint back up, I'll kind of walk you through how we got where we are and where we are now. When we left this room last time,
that's fantastic news, and I really commend all of you for working together as a team. You know, this is going to mean so much to so many. So, thank you very much. I'll stand by and listen to your presentation.
well, I'm going to start by thanking you and thanking you all, because you helped us a lot more than you realized it. When we walked out of here after our June conversation, you said, let us know how we can help. This is important. You need to pursue these ideas that we've talked about. So I walked out of the room fully intending to come back to you with a request. I just hadn't figured out what it was going to be yet. There was a group of us that were having that conversation and brainstorming and trying to figure that out. And we got a little lucky, because some of us that were having those conversations just happened to be meeting separately with Senator Scott and Congressman Clyburn about completely different issues. But during the course of those conversations, just organically, we got to this topic, and they had heard as well. They understood where we were. They thought this was a priority, and they wanted to help. So on this PowerPoint slide, I'm giving a lot of attention to Senator Scott and Congressman Clyburn, and I want to make it clear, I don't mean to suggest that the other members of our delegation in Washington didn't care just as much. I think we've got a great delegation. It just happened that we got the ball rolling with these two folks. And we all agreed that the way the program was set up in Washington, by the Department of the Treasury, there was just really no way to contort the ideas of direct pay, which is what Commissioner Urban was just talking about, and also a way to help our prepay customers. The way the program was set up, you just couldn't do it. So we realized that before we could move forward on either one of those two things, we needed to get some changes from Treasury in Washington. They needed to change their program parameters. So that's what we focused on. And there's a third picture up there of somebody that may not be as familiar looking to you. That is Craig Link. Craig is an attorney. He is counsel to Congressman Clyburn up in Washington. He works in the Washington office. Craig is from South Carolina. And, you know, whenever there's a thing like this where there's success, there's usually unsung heroes that don't get attention. And I wanted to put Craig's picture up there because Craig was probably the unsung hero here. He became very passionate about this, and he engaged with Treasury. It wasn't a job for him. It became a cause. And, you know, it helps when you work for the majority whip of the United States Congress. You know, they'll take your call. But Craig had to pull it across the goal line for us, and he did. So if you happen to know Craig, he's from Columbia. He went to USC. Give him a pat on the back because he really did more than anybody else to get us where we needed to be. So we got what we needed from Treasury. And we got a very long set of new guidelines, and I'm not going to drag you through them, but I just pulled out one sentence, and it's really not even a sentence. It's part of a sentence to give you an idea of what Craig was able to accomplish. If you look at this, there's a couple key words here. It says that they were going to allow us to start using reasonable estimates of arrears moving forward. And those words were important. It went on to explain in more detail, but basically that's the hook we needed for prepay, to help our prepay customers. We needed to be able to estimate what their future utility payments were going to be so that we could get them help. And so that was critical. And then it goes on to say that we can help multiple households. And that, Commissioner Irvin, is the hook that we needed to do a direct pay program. And so that changed everything. That was a complete game changer. And we've really been focusing hard on this for the last month or so. I want to walk you through what we're planning to do. As we've mentioned, there's two separate groups that we're trying to help. There's kind of our regular customers who are in arrears. And this program is going to get them caught up from anything that accrued back all the way to March of last year when we first got into the pandemic with no limit. If they qualify, they can receive as much from the program as they need to get them caught up. Then our prepay customers, we talked a lot about this last time. The problem with prepay customers is that because they pay in advance for power, when they get down to zero, they're automatically disconnected and they never go into arrears. So we have to come up with a separate way to help that group. And then there's a little bit of overlap. And one of you back in June recognized this. Commissioner Casson, I think it was you. But we do have a small number of prepay members who also are behind. And that's because early in the pandemic, we suspended disconnects for a while. And so some of those folks got into a hole without getting disconnected. We have payment arrangements with all these folks, and a lot of them, probably most of them, have been caught back up. But we know we needed a special approach for that group. So we started working. What we've done is, first of all, we've identified a company called Experian, and some of you may be familiar with Experian. It's a group out of state that has a lot of proprietary databases. And what they're going to do for us is they're going to help us identify with certainty which of our customers are renters, because only renters qualify for this program. So what we've done is we've sent the names and addresses of our customers who are behind and our customers who are prepay, pursuant to confidentiality agreements and security practices. But what Experian does is they compare that list to their databases, and they're able to tell us 99% of the time if someone is a renter or a property owner. And when I say 99%, I mean if we send them 100 names, they'll come back and say, these 99 we know for certain are one or the other. There may be one where they're not able to prove it with certainty, and we may have to do a little bit of extra work. But for the most part, this gives us our population of folks that we know we can help. This is where we are in the process right now. We are getting this work done with Experian. As soon as that's finished, and it's pretty quick. This happens pretty quickly. The next step is we will turn back to Vinod and his colleagues at Guidehouse. We will send them that list, and then what Guidehouse is going to do is kind of what Commissioner Irvin was describing. They're going to start comparing it to other lists. is a proxy process for eligibility. The first one they're going to do is they're going to look at low-income zip codes in South Carolina. If you're one of our customers and you're a renter and you live in one of these zip codes, they will be automatically qualified. I mean, that's it, which is going to be very helpful. They're also going to compare it to SNAP benefits. I used to call them food stamps, but federal list. If any of our customers are renters and they're receiving SNAP benefits, they'll be automatically approved. And then also we're going to look at unemployment recipients. Same thing. So if they match up with any of those three groups, they're finished, they're approved, they will get paid. This process is not going to eliminate anybody. So if we have someone who's a renter and they don't match up with one of these three groups, they can still apply just like they can now, and they can still get help. And we're going to continue to try to conduct outreach to those folks to get them what they need. But once this is done, and again, this is going to be completed pretty quickly, then the utilities are going to have to calculate how much each one of these folks are entitled to receive. As I mentioned, if you're just a regular customer who's gotten behind on your bill, anything that has accrued since March of last year, they will automatically recover. There's no limit on how much they can receive. For our prepay customers, what we've done is we're going to be able to pay them 3 months in advance for power that they're going to receive. The way we're going to calculate that is we're going to look at the last 12 months of billing for that premises. So even if the person's only been there for 3 months, we'll look at, if we've got data for 12 months, we're going to use all 12 months. So that'll include the really hot months and the really cold months. And whatever that average is, we will be able to pay them 3 months of it. There is a cap of $1,000, and that is a Treasury requirement. Treasury wanted to just build in a little wiggle room to make sure we weren't overpaying anybody, but we're okay with that. We think that's going to be more than enough to help the vast majority of our folks who are prepay. And then there's the group that's in both, there's the overlap group where you're a prepay customer, but you're also behind. And what we're going to be able to do there is we're going to calculate it both ways. We'll say, what if you weren't a prepay customer? What if you were just a regular customer? How much do you owe? And then we'll also look at if we calculated 3 months in advance, and whichever number is bigger, whichever one is going to help them the most, that's how they'll be qualified. So we're very happy with that. We were able to land it there. So that will be the next step. And then finally, once we have all the numbers and the names, we'll send the list to the Housing Authority and Commissioner Irvin. It'll happen just like you described it. They will cut a check back to the utility. The utility will credit it to each customer's bill, and it'll be as simple as that. We know that we're going to need to have a pretty good communications effort, a communications plan in place before we do that, both to communicate with our customers and help them understand why they're getting this credit on the bill and where it came from, and also with the general public, the media. We want to make sure that everybody understands what's happening. And so we are starting that process actually this week. We're going to get, for the utilities, we're going to get our communications folks together because we think it would be good to have a consistent message. Because again, you're in the same boat whether you're a Dominion or a Duke customer or a co-op customer. And so we think we want to be able to send the same message to everybody so that we're on the same page. So we will be doing that as well. And that's probably the next 2 months. I think in 2 months, our numbers are going to be where we need them to be because of these two programs. So, I'm
Can
going
I
to
ask a quick question? And I think it's just so fantastic what you all have been able to accomplish in Washington with our congressional delegation. And I want to publicly thank them and Senator Scott and Representative Clyburn for taking this on as a project and their staff. Let me ask you this, and I think I heard you say it already, but the other utilities, including the co-ops, Duke and both Duke companies, they're all aware of this as well. Is that true?
Yes, sir. We've been in contact with Santee Cooper. They serve a lot of those counties that have their own programs, so it's a little bit different from Santee Cooper, but we are including them. We've reached out to the Municipal Association with regard to the electric cities, and we're also continuing to communicate with the 7 counties that have their own programs. A couple of them have indicated they may be interested in adopting a similar approach to what I just described. They're all in different positions, though. Some of them have been a lot more successful than others because of the reasons that Vinod mentioned, just population density and things like that. So it's a big universe of people that are impacted by this. And yes, sir, we are working to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And I also appreciated what you said about our folks in Congress, and we will make sure that we pass along your thoughts when we talk to them again.
Well, that's great news. And, you know, to the extent you can get those counties, and I think there are, what, 9 or so counties that are running their own programs. I think perhaps if you do one more outreach with them and they see how well it's going to work, perhaps they'd be willing to join on in kind of a joint effort, since I would imagine none of them have gotten this far along in their outreach. And it would seem to me that that would be really ideal for them and for their residents as well.
Commissioner, thank you. You just gave me the hook that I needed to do that. I will circle back and tell them we had a good conversation with the commission and that you all suggested we circle back. So once again, you're helping me more than you probably realize.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Thank you for those questions. And I'll close my remarks by saying that I'm a Clemson graduate. I'm a Clemson Tiger, and that probably means that your opinion of me just changed for better or worse.
Attorney Kuhn, I was just thinking your presentation was going so well.
Mr. Kuhn, you're doing great. You're doing great.
I'm a Clemson fan that lives in Columbia. Thank you, Commissioner Belzer.
If I might interrupt you right there, if it's okay, Mr. Chair. I thought the presentation was great, and that just capped it off. And that was icing on the cake, actually, for me. I think that added a lot of credibility to it. That said, and I probably asked this last time, you know, there's been a focus on the electric utility arrears and so forth. I'm assuming that this covers water, wastewater, utilities also in arrears.
Yes, sir, it does. In any utilities that you're in arrears with. And our focus has been electricity. We have reached out, not as often to the other utilities, but we have reached out to the other utilities. And also by reaching out to the Municipal Association, of course, they help us with some of them as well. So we probably haven't spent as much time with that crowd, but we have been keeping them in the loop. And again, thank you for raising that. I will use that as an excuse to reach out to them again.
I would really consider that because, I mean, some of, at least in my experience, you can get some pretty substantial water, wastewater bills, especially, you know, if months have passed. So I think reaching out to the water, wastewater utilities for less public-private, I think would be, I think, very helpful. And I appreciate it, and go Tigers.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll make a point of doing that. So yeah, go Tigers. I invited all that on myself, for better or worse. But the reason I say that is because if you listen to Dabo Sweeney and all, there's something he says a lot. He often will say, "The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come." And I hope that's still true of Clemson football. I'm not sure after this past weekend, but I hope so. But with the South Carolina State Plus program, I do know the best is yet to come. We're about to have a couple great months with this program. I think we're going to get where we need to be. A lot of people have worked very hard to get us there. I want to thank you again for giving our ideas credibility when we really needed it. That was huge. And the last thing I want to do is thank commission staff. Nancy was right. You've got a great staff. They helped us pull all this together this morning. They were very helpful, and we really appreciated it. So thank you to the staff. And with that, that's our presentation. We're happy to answer any other questions you have. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Powers.
Thank you very much. And I guess Carolina, the best is yet to come. Couldn't get any worse. as far as, I had a couple of things kind of concern me, the landlords, what do you attribute the resistance to be? And I would guess part of my thought was that in the rural areas, a lot of things are done with cash. And I think, you know, with this being such a long time we dealt with COVID, I imagine there's some personal conflicts that the landlords are saying, I just want them out. Do you have any other thoughts about what the resistance is maybe from some of the landlords?
Thank you, Commissioner Powers. Vinod, I think you might be the best person to speak to that.
Yep. Thank you, Chris. Yes, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think for the most part, where landlords are unwilling to participate in the program, it's purely just because they want the tenant evicted, and hence they don't necessarily want to participate in the program. That's been the majority of it. We've certainly also had some landlords who, you know, are still kind of understanding the process of uploading their documents and how to participate with the platform. So that's also, I think, being helped a little bit now by having some of those in-person support centers. We're also trying to make sure that we reach out to landlords at least 3 times over a period of 7 to 14 days before we make any direct payments to the tenants, because we understand that the landlord is equally impacted along with the tenants as part of this program. So we want to give them every opportunity to participate as well. But you hit the nail on the head, Commissioner. I think the largest reason was, you know, they've been unsatisfied with the tenant. They just want the tenant to be evicted, and hence they don't want to participate as part of this program.
While I got you, a couple more questions. Has there been, because I've handled evictions on both sides, clients and for landlords, is there any sort of this information that's being handled so well through the housing associations and all? Are these type brochures or information available at the magistrate's offices where these evictions are taking place?
I think in some, but not all. I think they are available in community locations. I don't think they're necessarily available in all the magistrate or the courtroom locations. And that is something I can absolutely bring up with the program team and make sure that we try to socialize it as much as possible. I know our on the ground. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I know as a former magistrate, the judge likes to settle what they can. Maybe if these judges, particularly in the rural areas, knew of these programs, you know, they could maybe help work out some of these things in a positive manner.
Commissioner, I think
that up for two reasons. The other reason about it is not just the landlord's feelings, but some of the really poor people. I know they would have problems with applications and that sort of thing, and the judge could be, I mean, they just may have been missed in the process, and that is the last step they deal with. So if these judges are aware, then maybe that means that some of the population may have a last shot at it. And that's just something that just came to mind in the last day or two in preparing for this.
Commissioner, Renee was whispering in my ear just now that there has been some outreach on behalf of the Housing Authority. So I'm going to let her quickly bring you up to speed on that.
Yes, Commissioner. One of the things that we've done is to, in addition to sending communications to court administration, there was recently a conference, I believe, of the judges or court administration staff in Myrtle Beach. And so we partnered with Legal Services, SC Legal Services, and one of our attorneys that is on staff went and did a joint presentation. One of the things we found is we don't want to just send the information. Of course, we will continue to outreach and make flyers available, but we want to provide an opportunity to have that discussion to see what are the concerns, what are the reasons why people may or may not be participating, and how can we help. So I think we look for opportunities to do that. Would welcome, any future opportunity to go out into communities, meet with, the court administration, meet with magistrate court judges, and of course, we work very closely with our legal advocates and legal partners in terms of any education and outreach.
And you mean like the legal services organizations and different ones that are providing representation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, thank you. I just had that on my mind. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Chairman Williams, and thank you all for that really wonderful and presentation and for the excitement that you conveyed at what you've been able to accomplish. It seems really well deserved. I've got 3 questions or comments, and the first is a little of both. I think what you just said is that because of the conversations that were happening with our elected officials in Washington, a change was made with the U.S. Treasury that could impact not just South Carolina, but 49 other states plus territories with this program.
Yes, ma'am, you're absolutely right.
That's pretty sweet.
It was, and South Carolina deserves a lot of credit for it. Again, Craig Link did a lot of good hard work, but it also helped that Congressman Clyburn had the position he had. But yes, you're right. I hope that people do recognize that South Carolina carried the water on this one. Thank you.
Well, thank you. My next question and suggestion is, I loved all the data. It was, data tells a story, but I also kind of wanted to hear if any of you had any personal stories of the difference that this money was making. And then that led me to the idea of, are those, with the names changed or, without identifying particular people, are those stories perhaps impactful in who will take up the opportunity for this funding in the future?
I'll take that question. Yes, I probably went through the slide through quickly, but we actually will do social media posts. We take the names out, and with the permission of the constituent, basically we'll include a quote of, what the program meant to them. One of the things we've done is we've recently went out and actually did a video interview with one of the participants. We've been trying to do so much in terms of the boots on the ground and get out to the rural areas. And really, one of the things that there are lots of opportunities to do that. Right now, when the moratorium was lifted, we were in a race against time. And so most of the constituent contact is, how can we connect you and how quickly? So we are beginning to go and do some of those things as the opportunity presents it. But just up until this point, we've just mostly been trying to outreach to the rural area and figure out who we've been missing. But you can see that on our social media, and we are doing, we did do at least one videotape, and Vinod and his team have made us aware of any individuals that would like to talk with us. We do that in terms of when they're going through the application process. If they can tell us, how did they learn about us, how was it, and would they be interested in someone reaching out to them. But that has not been a major focus right now. Once we get our folks stably housed is what we're hoping to do. But clearly we hear the stories all the time at outreach events. We get calls, we get emails, and just even the thank you. The tenants are amazingly gracious in terms of thank you and letting us know if it hadn't been for this program, me and my 3 children would be out. And just to give kudos to the utility companies and their quick response. I'm not sure that Vinod mentioned this, but now with the moratorium being lifted, anyone that calls and says, hey, I got an eviction notice, pretty much those cases are escalated. And in one case, I think last week, there was a woman who reached out, and she had 8 children. And we called the program team. They reached out to the utility company, and we could avoid their utilities being shut off. So again, I think those are the kinds of work that makes a difference. That's why you see our passion, and we know that we're helping people, and the best is yet to come. And I am a Gamecock fan and alumni, so I will say that on behalf of all the Carolina fans, yes, the best is yet to come as well.
Thank you. I knew that hurt a little bit to say that. I appreciate it. Commissioner Williams, I just want to recognize that the idea of doing those social media posts with the testimonials, you may not remember this, but you said that last time, and that's why we started doing it. So I'm glad that you circled back to that.
and certainly there are a lot more testimonials that exist. So I appreciate your sharing a few of those details, and it just makes you feel good about what you all are doing. Keeps you going too. So you also commented on the friendship and the collaboration, and there may not be an answer to this, but have you thought of ways that this collaboration may happen in the future when the funding's not necessarily available? It doesn't have to be answered, but it does seem like it was a great opportunity.
I think what's really exciting to me, the answer is yes, but what's really exciting with Grassroots, we may do a pop-up rental assistance clinic on a Saturday, but I know that there are like 2 other presentations. We'll get a community member or a group, someone calling from Springfield to say, hey, I heard about what you did over there and I have an idea. To me, that's what's really exciting, locally driven types of outreach where we're meeting the community where they are. And so the good part of it is there are some planned things that we do on our communication plan, but there are these wonderful opportunities where the other evening a pastor called and said, listen, I have some people, some churches, and can I get you out here? I think that's that word of mouth. These are trusted people. These are networks, informal networks that we couldn't possibly tap into with all of our kind of structured outreach. So I'm hoping that those relationships and building that community capacity, if you look at the rental assistance clinic, just having that many community partners and in a short period of time figuring out everything from, the pro bono programs to the law students to the church will host to Appleseed. I mean, it's been an amazing partnership. And so I think that those kind of connections will continue. And that's really at the heart of building community capacity and resiliency. So.
Thank you. No further questions.
Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to say this is quite amazing. It's impressive work. And I'd just like to say that I can't even imagine how many people have been involved. I mean, you're talking about all of these organizations and these rural churches, and I mean, things just have to go so many different directions, and just very, very appreciative. And I have a question. I know this has been confined to people that are renters, and that might be something that is just fixed in the law. That's probably what it is, but you did such a good job working to make it easier to go through the process and everything. I just wondered if it was any possibility of having discussions with the people in Washington to see if it could be opened up even a little bit more to homeowners. Any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I'm pleased to say that South Carolina is expecting $145 million through what will call the South Carolina Mortgage Rescue Program. We've already had almost 2,000 homeowners to sign up for the email. We've submitted a plan to Treasury, and as soon as that plan is approved any day now, we will be standing up that program and emailing a link directly to those homeowners. So we are excited about that. We have the connections, the established, track record in the community. The community knows us, and we're looking forward to standing that up as soon as the approval comes through of the plan.
Sounds very good. Very good. Thank you. Appreciate it. That's all I had.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, Attorney Kuhn, Ms. Long, Ms. Freeman, Mr. Venard, Ms. Lohr. I don't think there's anything I can say that you all haven't already said. Everyone wants to be a part of a winning team. And Attorney Kuhn, despite the fact that you pull for a team that wears orange, you are an outstanding leader, and you have led an effective winning team. I really want to join the team, to be honest with you. You've given us a lot of credit. I don't know how much credit we actually deserve. We really don't have that much power. But it seems as if that you took some of our comments and ran with them in a way that I don't know if I've seen demonstrated since my time on the commission. It's easy to see when someone is trying to sell you snake oil. I would say that you and your team were very passionate about the mission that you volunteered for. And the people of South Carolina, I don't know how they couldn't be any prouder of you all and what you've all done. And that's every member of your team. And so I really appreciate your attitude about this. And honestly, this was a great way to start off the week. So thank you for coming and giving us all this good news. We really appreciate it. And let me just ask you this. You said you had to ask, and I don't know, I had to step out a few times. I don't know if you made the ask. If you did, ask it again. What if anything, can we do for you?
Well, my ask was, we ended up not needing it because you merely offering to help was enough to give credibility to what we were trying to do for the folks in Washington. So you have helped a lot. You helped tremendously. And I really appreciate those kind words. Notwithstanding my affinity for the color orange, I appreciate that. And thank you for everything you do. We appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Urban.
I have one last thought, and I think this is such a wonderful success story that this team has accomplished. I would like for them to produce a video for the utilities to put on their website in terms of how this is helped so many hundreds of thousands of people in our state. I just think they deserve to take credit for their victory, and once the process winds down, probably be the appropriate time. But you know, a video story that chronicles how this came about and how our South Carolina delegation made it happen, not just for our citizens, but for the entire country. It's just it's a wonderful story, and I would encourage you to document it in some fashion so it can be shared with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's a good and timely suggestion because we are going to be getting our communications folks together here this week or next week to start working on a communications plan. And I will put that on the agenda. I think that's a great idea, and we'll work on it. Thank you.
All right. If there are not any comments, any further comments from the commission, Attorney Kuhn, Ms. Long, and the rest of your team, if you all don't have any closing remarks, we are adjourned.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.